Has everybody got coffee? I don't think you'll need it today. I think we've got. I'm bound to say this because it's our event, right? So I might be slightly biased, but when we decided to set this up, and the idea really came from a bit of a business meeting. I had a conversation with Seb before I left about setting up some sort of conference style thing, and then it sort of evolved. And over the last couple of years, I think it only gets better and better. Your feedback at the end of today will give us an indication as to whether that's true or not. But we choose the best speakers that we can possibly find, and we are blessed that they're all here to share their knowledge. I've seen every single one of them, I think, speak, and I've asked for that talk that I've heard because I know the value it can have. And the point being that I guess if you can take one piece of information away from today, it would be a good day, right? If you can take something that you can implement within your business or within your personal life, the goal setting side of things, and if that benefits you and drives you forward, then I think we've done our job today. Is that too philosophical? We'll go into a bit of theory instead. I got a really interesting statistic from Louise at the break, because today essentially what I'm here to do is to present the to market a legal business, but not based on necessarily on my knowledge today. You'll be pleased to hear because you've probably heard that before. Many of you will have heard me talk about how to market a legal business before, but based on all of the feedback that we've had as a result of the legal growth marketing report. So we went out, we sent out emails to, it was nearly 3,000 law firms asking them to partake in the study. As with any email marketing campaign, you get about a 30% open rate, and then the click-through rate will be anything about, so we got about 160 responses. I don't know what the click-through rate looks like on that. But that's a statistic, right? And that's a statistic that's not made up. But statistically, what was the thing that you said, Louise? Okay, so I didn't need to do all that. I didn't need to do all that report, did I? I could have just made up some statistics and I could have told you them as truths. But you'll be pleased to hear this is what other law firms are doing and other legal businesses are doing to grow their business, and we'll present those findings back to you and give you some ideas. But before I do that, in the middle of your tables, there's a little spinny thing with your agenda and things like that. It's got all your sponsors and your headline sponsor. Just next to that, there are some green ticks, little handout things. Can everybody grab one? I got really excited and ordered these on Temu. Has everybody got one? Fantastic. Is it? There should be enough. It's like the X Factor. Are we all okay? If we got some, there's some spare ones there if we need any. Does anybody not have one? Does anybody want to play the game and can't play? Okay. I think everybody's okay. Can I ask you to raise it and show me whether so far you are engaged in the room? Dean, I don't like that. Oh, you've turned it back around, thank you. Right, so I'm going to ask you about your own perception of marketing, so to speak, and then we'll go through some statistics, if that's okay. Just before I do, in the last 12 months, I appreciate I'm maybe not the most polished speaker, but that's why we get me out the way nice and early, and then you get the perfect speakers as we go forward. But I've delivered over 25 presentations on this exact topic, how to market a legal business. I've trained over 1,000 lawyers. When you look at it like that, so that's quite impressive. I'm quite proud of myself, I guess. And I've gifted over 100 hours of free consultation, strategy guidance to help lawyers grow their business. That offer extends today. So if anybody likes what they hear over the next 25 minutes and 53 seconds and would like to implement some of the ideas within their business, I will happily give you 30 minutes of time to set a strategy. And then 2 weeks ago, I delivered a workshop on how we personally grew our website traffic. So I can talk a good game perhaps when it comes to marketing. I can say this is what you ought to be doing, but we live that same story. So our marketing is based on the same principles that we tell all of our clients about. And the presentation that I delivered 2 weeks ago was how we took our website 3 years ago when we launched Legal Growth, when it was a brand new brand and the website traffic was zero with an unknown domain, to 12,000 visitors, unique visitors every single month. And that's increasing, thankfully, and touch wood, it will continue to increase, based on all the stuff that we're going to talk about. So, 2 weeks ago, we got the final report back, and there will be one of these winging their way to you at close of play today. So you'll have access to this report before anybody else did. For all of you within the room that have partook in the report, I appreciate your time on that. We're going to do this, based on the feedback that we've had so far, we're going to do this on an annual basis. If there's any questions that you think you'd like to see within the report next year, feel free to reach out to me and we'll start to include those in and we'll get everything ready. So, quick reality check. From a marketing perspective right now, how does everybody feel, positive being green, negative or room for improvement, with regards to your own marketing strategy? It's maybe a split. So some people think there's maybe some room for improvement, some people are fairly happy with the way that they're marketing at the moment. we'll give you some ideas as to how you might choose to do that. And we'll do that in 3 ways. So essentially what we're going to cover today is what's working when it comes to legal marketing. So based on the report and based on the study that we've done, what people are doing that's working within their business, where people find that they might be challenged and might need a bit more sort of support, and where your focus should be if you were to take actions as a result of today. So if we look at what's working at the minute, these statistics aren't my statistics. These are, like I say, these are based on 160 legal businesses. So 80% of firms rely on referrals as their primary lead source presently. Show of hands, lead source, referrals. Does anybody get business from referrals? Yeah, perfect. Is it important? Yeah. 60% of respondents spend less than £5,000 a year on marketing, and that's ignoring any business development staffing costs and things like that. So we're talking about tangible costs for marketing. I don't know whether that resonates or rings true with you guys. Less than 5,000. I know there's some fairly big firms in here that have got a big marketing budgets, and I'll be speaking to you all after this, of course. And then 53% of firms have implemented SEO, and that's search engine optimization strategies, within the last 12 months. And it's important for me to note, by the way, when we talk about SEO, that SEO there's a difference, a distinction between SEO and GEO, generative optimization, which is, has anybody seen when you go onto Google, for example, and you start to search something, the first thing that pops up now is an AI-generated response? That's essentially generative search. Google's putting stuff in front of you that it thinks you want to see. Does anybody want 2 minutes on that? Have I got time? Yeah? So the key takeaway from generative search, if you want to start ranking for generative search and jump onto the innovation curve now before everybody else is doing it, use long tail keywords. So basically use question and answers on your website. So if you've got a page that's about will writing, you'll have a question on there, and it's a header tag normally that will say something like, what is a will? Because that, in theory, is what somebody will be searching. So that's what the long tail keyword is, and that's how we're likely then to get in front of clients from a generative search perspective. Obviously, we want traffic back to the website, which will support with that. But if you do nothing else, just structure your website in short question and answer sections across the site. And 53% of firms are starting to do SEO work or have engaged in SEO strategies over the last 12 months. So that might be building backlinks, it might be blog content, it might be social media backlinks back to the website, all these sorts of things. So question for you. I've asked you the question about who gets referrals at the minute, but who here thinks that referrals are enough to sustain their business long term? That's really interesting. I was expecting that, so basically what we've seen is I've seen more red than green here. What I find quite interesting here is if I'd have asked the same question maybe 4 or 5 years ago, I was blessed to be working with Anthony at the team at the Society 6 years ago, 7 years ago, something like that maybe. And if I asked the same question back then, referrals were a key source of business then. So I think it's important to recognise that that's still a huge part of anybody's marketing strategy. What we'll hear from Tommy later on is about how we build our digital presence, maybe using tech and AI, but we can still engage with our existing client bank to get more referrals. Maybe we just work smarter, not harder. So those that have said that they don't think it might sustain their business long term, maybe it's just a mindset shift as to how can we get more referrals, how can we harness it, how can we automate, how can we make life easy. Has anybody heard the term £10 task, £100 test, £1,000 task? So for those that haven't, it's a principle. Kelly, was it you that taught me about this? It might have been. So the basic principle is there are tasks within our business, and some of them that are £10 tasks, so they might be repetitive, they might be boring, we might do it all the time. And in theory, those £10 tasks, if we can automate those, or if we can get somebody else to do those tasks so that we ourselves as business owners or key decision makers or multi-managers, whatever that might look like, can focus on the £100 tasks and ideally the £1,000 tasks, that adds to our bottom line. And so we want to focus on those £1,000 tasks, and if we can automate the £10 tasks. The referral piece, I would suggest, is a £10 task. So if you've got a CRM system in place, automate what you can. So if referral numbers drop tomorrow, would your marketing pipeline keep your business running? Is anybody bold enough to hold up a thing on that? So there's a few people that then rely on referrals, and therefore if they dropped off. So an action from that for those that were red would be, we need to start thinking about multi-channel marketing, or we need to start thinking about, there's an eggs in basket situation, isn't it? We need to start thinking about what we can do to make sure that we've got multiple funnels, multiple lead sources delivering business to us. And if I share with you a little bit about my business, about 80% of our business at the minute comes through LinkedIn. It comes through relationship-based marketing techniques that we do through LinkedIn. So I'll engage with somebody on LinkedIn, start a communicate, start a conversation, I'll comment on their stuff, I'll stalk them, I'll send them the occasional message, I'll invite them to an event, and then they're in our funnel. They then know who I am, and over the course of 6 touches, that 6-touch strategy that I'm always talking about, what will happen is people will know us, like us, and trust us enough to engage with us, part with their hard-earned cash on our products and services. So we just need to do that in multiple ways. But at the minute, 80% of our business comes from that. So we're by no means perfect, right? There's 80% of our eggs in one basket. But being that our website traffic's massive, and being that we've implemented over the last 12 months a brand new CRM system that uses information capture where we possibly can, and we're collecting more Google reviews than we've ever collected, we're creating partnership agreements that we hadn't had before. You can see what I'm doing here, right? I'm expanding our marketing reach. We're going into different channels because I recognise the same thing. If I were to hold up referrals at the minute, referrals or relationship-based marketing would be my primary source of business. So that brings me on to my second point, where legal businesses are struggling right now. So the report suggests that staffing is one of the key problems that legal businesses have got. And that staffing, I should have gone into more detail so I can make up some statistics on this one, I guess. 40% of those respondents, no. If we look at some of our clients and we look at some of the things, finding decent members of the team that haven't already been captured by another firm, for example, would be a key staffing cost. Dean and I had a conversation, I don't know how long ago it was, maybe 2 years, 3 years ago when you started doing our HR. And you told me at the time, and I'm putting you on the spot here, about the cost of employment.
Yeah, so actually it costs between, for a 25k a year job, about 32k. So about 32k to replace a member of staff. So if you get it wrong, it costs you more than their annual salary to replace it.
So we wanted to, and there's a principle that we hire slow, fire fast. That's the principle, right? I'm not very good at firing, so we just keep collecting. And we hire fantastically. I'll say that. Thanks, Callum. I've recognised Callum's going to do the edit on this video, so I've got to be really kind. But choosing the right people to join your team is hugely important. And I've got a couple of people I'd like to bring into the business at the moment who I think are going to be fantastic additions. But as a small business, the other consideration that we've got, typically speaking, is cost. There needs to be an investment. And again, without putting Kelly on the spot, I went for a meeting with Kelly not so long ago, and she gave me some business consultancy. And one of the things that Kelly talked about was for every member of staff that we have in our business, theoretically, they need to earn, is it 3 times their salary, essentially, something like that? So these are all considerations that we've got. So it's not only a case of finding the right staff at that specific point then, it's making sure that they're skilled, it's making sure that they understand or that they fit in with the brand tone and that sort of thing. And then we've got to keep them. And staff retention is a massive problem. In the legal sector, it's a massive problem because it's quite easy for people to leave and go and find a new role. So therefore, we need to make sure that our workplace is as attractive as possible. And ours is, isn't it, Callum? Perfect. It's free beer. And then the next thing to think about is that the struggles that people have got, there's essentially 2 forms of marketing, right? You've got paid and you've got organic. If we break it down to its most simplest form, you either pay, you open the tap and then leads start coming in, or we do stuff that we expect will deliver business for us over a given period of time, next 12 months, next 18 months, whatever the case may be. Well, 73% of firms aren't using any paid ads at the moment. So they're theoretically using organic-based marketing strategies, or they might be using their team for business development, they might be doing relationship-based marketing, all of those sorts of things. But they've said that that's a challenge. So therefore, in theory, what that means is that they're not getting enough leads necessarily, which means that they're not doing the right things, which makes me really excited because one of our speakers later on will be talking to us about how we network better, so how we become better communicators. I think my wife's probably gone now, so I'm safe to say this, but she's a wonderful lady. You've all met her on the reception desk, right? She describes me as socially awkward. Oh, he is recording. We'll edit that bit out. She's a wonderful lady, but she describes me as socially awkward. I have to fight every fibre of my being to be here and to jump onto a stage or to go into a conversation with somebody I don't know and do the traditional what we know as networking, right? So I can see why she calls me socially awkward. And Dan and I have had this conversation many times where we paint the picture we want people to see. So I go into a networking room and I have to then just put on like a front, a face, a mask. And I have to be happy, chirpy Tom rather than the, not looking forward to this. What if nobody wants to speak to me? He's already turned his back. What's going on? Do you know what I mean? So I can't remember where I was going with that. Anybody remind me? No? That's it. There's 2 different types of marketing. Thank you very much. There's 2 different types of marketing. So, but we need... Thank you. Appreciate it, Nicola. You do. But we need to recognise that ultimately that organic isn't going to deliver us business overnight, is it? It's really rare that will. So we've written blog articles that deliver a huge amount of traffic to us, but it took like 6 months for that to start garnering any traffic, which is a pain in the bum. But 73% of firms have suggested that it's a challenge for them, the fact that they have to turn on the tap essentially to get those leads. So over the course of the day, we've got speakers lined up that will make it. So our next speaker is going to be talking to us about copy and the information that we write. And every time I send her a message, I won't say it. I'll wait for it. I'll wait till later on. We've got speakers coming up today that are going to give you the tips to make that organic stuff work. So the networking piece, how we send out, or how our copy reflects our brand, and what people see when they see the information or the messages that we send, what people think about or what they think about when they're looking at our marketing messages. Do we see something like 10,000 marketing messages on a daily basis? It's huge amounts, and we don't necessarily know. It's all subliminal marketing, but ultimately we need to make sure that we stand out. So we'll get some tips over the course of today. And then my most shocking statistic from the whole report, I think, which is why I put a shocked face emoji. That is the right emoji, isn't it? Callum hates it when I use emojis in our work chat, because I don't use inappropriate emojis, but I use emojis put completely out of context. So we're going to do some emoji training of some description. But this was the most shocking statistic for me. Only 20% of firms track their marketing activity, something like a conversion rate or a cost per lead. Can I ask the question, Raise? Does anybody here track? A couple of people have been honest and said no. Most people do. Oh, then a round of applause, because you're part of the 80%, most of you. But that's the most shocking statistic for me, because if we're spending money on something, or spending our time, and our time is money, right? Going to an event, we want to be able to track it. We want to make sure that we know what's doing is working. So, have I just asked this question? Who here is confident that their firm tracks marketing success effectively? Can we go again? Nothing's changed. Okay. I'd say maybe it's just slightly in favour of the greens. We track it rather than there's room for improvement. So, if you don't know what's working, if you don't know what's working within your marketing, then how can you justify your marketing spend? And I appreciate that of that, I gave you this statistic earlier on. I can't remember what I saw make it up. I think it was about 30% of firms aren't. We'll go back. 20% of firms aren't tracking. Without being a massive sales pitch, my colleague Tommy is outside. We've set up a CRM system within the last 12 months, and it's been a game changer for us. We had a CRM system in place beforehand, but I track everything that comes into the business. If I have a conversation with somebody, their information goes into my CRM system. If I jump onto a call with somebody, whether it goes somewhere or not, I'm putting a note in there so I know exactly what's said. I've got the worst memory in the world anyway, so I put a note in there as to what's said, and I put a lead source. So where did I speak to them? Where did it come from? Was it LinkedIn? So that at the end of the year, when I do my quarterly marketing reports, I can then see 60% of our business, 80% of our business came from LinkedIn, 20% came from me going to the pub. Do you know what you get the idea? But I wasn't always perfect at doing that. So the third thing, and we're still on time, don't worry. The third thing is, what should we be focusing on when it comes to our marketing in 2025? So 46% of firms plan to adopt AI or automation, and I think there's a distinction between that. I won't go too much into it because I don't know what I'm talking about with it, if I'm honest. But Tommy's here later on going to be talking about that. Again, equally, 46% of firms track website analytics, but over half don't. Does everybody, can we show of hands for whether you've got Google Analytics set up in your website? If we built your website, yes you do, so you can put green. Perfect. Anybody not sure if they've got Google Analytics set up on their website? So, key takeaway, if you do nothing else after today, go and speak to your web developer and just make sure Google Analytics is set up, and it just takes you back to my previous point, because if you don't know what's working, then you can't start to track it. And all the time that you're spending on writing blogs or paying for SEO work or whatever it might be, you want to see an increase in website traffic. You want to know what pages of the website people are going to. I read through my slides this morning, and I think I said to Charlie, I've got no idea why I put this slide in. I wrote these slides a couple of weeks ago, but when the report came through, and I think this is the face that some of our clients pull. I'm looking at one client specifically at the back of the room, but this is the face that they pull when we start to talk about statistics sometimes, because quite honestly, maybe you're not necessarily so fussed about having 350 hits on your website on a monthly basis, but what you want to know is how many of those convert to a contact form that comes through and turns into an appointment. That's probably more important, right? But from our perspective, it's important to get traffic to the website in the first place. So our clients are now used to explaining that. We've got another client who says to me all the time, I'm not interested in the numbers. I trust you to go and do it, and I want to know it's working. So you just say to me, yes, it's working, and we'll see it in the number of leads that come through. And I still do this. I still explain it to them, not because we have to justify our spend, but because I want them to understand why we're doing what we're doing. I want them to buy into the strategies, and therefore, when it comes to marketing, we can't do everything. So there's stuff that you guys as law firm owners or marketing department managers, there's stuff that you have to do to make sure that your marketing's working. So onto the AI and automation piece. Can I ask a question? Who here fully trusts AI? Tommy, can I see yours? Tommy doesn't fully trust AI yet. Okay. There's a couple of people that do. The majority of the room don't. I'm with you guys. I don't fully trust AI yet. I trust the processes that we've set up and that it'll do what we say it'll do, but data is one thing that scares me. Who owns the data? What's happening with it? One of the things that I planned to do was to write a book using AI, and then I wimped out of it because I thought, it's not my book then. I didn't write it. I thought it'd be clever to write the first marketing book for the legal sector based on AI, but I wimped out because I don't fully trust the process. I don't fully trust it yet. Can I also ask then, who here is currently using AI or automations, marketing? No, let's do it first. Who here is using AI within their business? More than 50% of the room, I would say, using AI. Who here is using marketing automations within their business? I'd expect this to be slightly higher. For those that don't, a marketing automation might be something as simple as Calendly, and that Calendly links through to your diary. You send somebody a Calendly link, it books through. Another automation might be a contact form on your website, drags the data across, puts it directly to your CRM system. These are things that you should be doing just as a bare minimum. So the majority of people are using AI automation. Well, that's always pleasing to hear. So when it came to AI, so like I said, 12 months ago, we launched the software platform, and I'll be honest with you, I'm not the most techie person in the world. Charlie will attest to this, which is why Charlie makes sure all this works. And this is why Callum does all the video in and sets up laptops and stuff for us and our team. But you don't always have to know it, is the truth. Has anybody heard me talk about the power team before? You are the sum of the 5. We talked about it in the bar last night, didn't we? You are the sum of the 5 people that you most closely surround yourself with. I recognise that I don't know everything there is about marketing, about life, about most things. But I surround myself with people who can help me, and I selfishly harness them, and I'll hang on to their coattails. And I'm looking at Tommy here because I'm hanging on to his coattails from a tech perspective. And they put systems in place, and they started small. So my calendar system, I went from using Calendly, which cost me 99 quid a month, to using our own internal system, which doesn't cost me anything. And then I just made sure that I put that on my website. So I removed a single barrier so that if somebody wants to book in with me, I don't have to then say, when are you free? When can we do? I just say, is it okay if you book a meeting link using my website? It sends them all the reminders, it sends me confirmations, it sends them follow-up questions if they go through a specific link. But that was just one small step, marketing automation, that helped with marketing. And most of you will be thinking, well, that's not necessarily directly lead generating, but that's a £10 task. And that £10 task saves me time, which means that I can spend my time on the £100 task and then the £1,000 task. A few more stats for you. I won't go through all of these, but for the majority of firms are planning, so 60% of firms don't plan to expand their services, but when I say their service offerings, they're not planning to expand into different markets. But the majority of them are planning to expand over the course of the year. I didn't put that statistic in there. AI and automation. Nearly half of the respondents to the survey suggested that they are planning to adopt some form of AI. Does anybody use ChatGPT? We can use our Copilot. We went to a tech conference. Was it this week? It was this week, wasn't it? Was it last week? I don't know when it was. Last week. Went to a tech conference last week, and I was surprised about how many different AI engines there are. There's one called Grok, which is, did you say it was Elon Musk's engine? There's tons out there, but ultimately, even using something like that to help you with email automation, or with blog copy, or ideas for blog copy, social media content, marketing planning and strategy, it's a tool that we didn't necessarily have at our disposal. So that's one of the ways that you can start to think about it. 53% of firms post on a weekly basis. Can I ask you, who posts here on a weekly basis? Does anybody post on a daily basis? A few? 20% of firms rarely update their social media content. Shh, I've got 3 minutes. One of my accountant, when I chose my accountant, I asked for a referral recommendation, and I got recommendations, and I still had a look at the digital footprint of my accountant, because I wanted to make sure that not only was the person who recommended them using them, but I wanted to see who else was using them. So I looked at their Google reviews, and then I went across to their socials. And their socials weren't active. They hadn't been active for 18 months. Well, number one, I saw an opportunity there straight away, didn't I? So I went in there and we do their marketing for them. But number two was that if it raised a doubt in my mind that they weren't active because they don't post, that's the same sort of thing. So posting on a regular basis, once a week in an ideal world, should be a must in the modern day. Even if it's not generating business, or even if we're not doing paid ads or boosting our posts or anything like that, just having a substance and content out there. And if you're looking for ideas as to what to post on those platforms, I would start to look at things like social proofing, user-generated content, so testimonials from clients. If you can get video testimonials from clients, you'll be ahead of most law firms out there. One more statistic, emails and phone calls remain the dominant communication method for law firms. However, firms that incorporate video consultations and chat-based support are seeing increased engagement and conversions. Use of client testimonials, 60% of firms are using testimonials in their marketing materials, and that social proof is essential. I've just mentioned that. Client satisfaction, only 26% of firms measure client satisfaction metrics, which surprises me. And that's physically measuring them, by the way. So you might have a conversation with a client and you might think that they're a satisfied customer because they've not complained, but that's 26% of firms that are actually asking, how was the experience with us? Maybe follow-up phone call conversation or questionnaire or something that goes out. 33% of firms have entered industry awards in the last 12 months. Can we ever use the panel? Who's entered an award within the last 12 months? Who's entered the Legal Growth Awards in the last 12 months? Same ones. Do it. Even if you don't win, if you're shortlisted, you've got marketing content. I would encourage you, and go for the ones that aren't. In our industry, we're blessed. They're not all Mickey Mouse awards. But when we launched ours, we wanted to be all independently judged. I wanted no hand in it. We wanted something that, in theory, our clients could enter, and it wouldn't be seen as disingenuous or biased. But it boosts credibility to get those awards. I also appreciate that I am a massive hypocrite because we don't enter awards ourselves. So that's something that we're going to change within our marketing strategy. Only 20% of firms track. I'm pretty sure this statistic was on one of the earlier slides, so we'll brush past that one. If I could say, we've only got 50 seconds left, so maybe if you just write down one thing that you're going to start doing as a result of this, the conversation so far. And now I'm going to ask you, who now, based on those statistics that we're aware of, who feels slightly more confident in their marketing strategy moving forward? You all have to say that, don't you? But thank you very much. Thank you. What I'm going to do is I'm going to provide everybody with a copy of the report, but I can't stress enough, I know I said it before, I can't stress enough how excited I am about the speaker lineup that we've got today. This is essentially what you're going to get from it, and I'm very confident that there will be huge results in your marketing as a result. A closing thought, like I say, if you get one piece of information or one nugget that you can take away, start to implement with your business, or one of our sponsors gives you a tool that you can then start to implement, which takes away tons and tons of stress or provides you with leads, then you'll be absolutely laughing. Marketing doesn't need to be overwhelming. Small steps, it just needs to be strategic. And I'll provide this to you later on. But thank you ever so much.